I am super proud to introduce the next person, who I first met at the MPE conference in Brooklyn, and I've been following ever since. Jitu Brown is a tremendous, tremendous inspiration for many people, myself included, because he's done everything. He is, yes, a father, community leader, an inspiration. He's an organizer. He's an activist. I could go on and on and on. There's stuff that kind of hints over here, but it's just pales in comparison to what he's been able to do by actually paving the way by putting his body on the line. There's many of us who are collectivists who sign the change.org and feel good for that 3 seconds, but when you put your body and your health on the line and you actually say, no, I'm committed to my morals and I'm going to have a hunger strike, and I'm going to prove that my community deserves to have input on the services and the schools that they want to have. He is tremendous and an inspiration, and I think we really should give a round of applause for Jitu Brown. All right.
Good morning. I want to say, so first you all had to forgive me. Part of getting old, I got to get my reading glasses. Y'all, hold on. That's a doggone shame, boy, but hold on. Okay. Okay. So first I want to say thank you very much for having me here as your keynote speaker. I never take things like this for granted, that people believe that what you have to offer can be of some benefit, maybe offer some clarity, perspective, connection to what each of us are going through. So I'm always humbled when someone says, well, we'd like you to be a voice. And I think none of us should do that. None of us should think that we have something to offer that's greater than anybody else. That everybody in our struggle has something important to give. So again, I want to say thank you very much for the honor of being here today. My heart is a little heavy and I'm struggling with what to say. So let me start with kind of what's easy. My name is Jitu Brown from the south side of Chicago. I work with the Journey for Justice Alliance, which is a national network of grassroots community-based organizations in about 23 cities, committed to community-driven school improvement, committed to the notion that we don't need Superman, we don't need people to fly into our communities, that the solution to our issues exists in our neighborhoods. The issue is that there is a fiercely organized resistance to us having the right of self-determination, for us to see our children and for the system to see our children the way we do. As parents, when your child moves you to tears because you love them so much, isn't that how an education system should treat our children? But that's not what we have in this country. So my charge today, because we make this thing very complicated. We make it very complicated. We talk about, this issue or that issue. And there's an old African proverb that says the truth is simple, if it's complicated, it's a lie. And that the truth is very clear if we have the courage to face it. But often we manipulate the truth to make ourselves feel more comfortable. We manipulate the truth so we don't have to do the self-reflection we need to do to actually transform. So I want to talk with my family today, because any of us that are in this struggle, we're family. Either we are brothers and sisters, first cousins, second cousins, or third cousins, but we're family. So I want to speak my truth this morning, and I want to do it with a group of people that were here with an open mind. Can we make that agreement? Okay. So the first thing I think we have to ask ourselves is, what is education? And too often you hear all these very, $25, $5,000 explanations on what education is. But I'm a sort of a grassroots student of history. And in ancient African societies, they believed that education was inspiration and information. Inspiration and information. And I'll add something on to that, what I was taught, that prepare a people to make their way in the world. Education is not about the education of an individual. It's about the education of a people. It's about preparing a people to be able to stand on the shoulders of their ancestors, of their elders. In this country, there was no public education for black children until white abolitionists united with the African Methodist Episcopal Church to create the African free schools in the late 1700s in this country, Philadelphia and New York. Those efforts were because they viewed children through the lens of absolute love. Every child that walked through their door, they understood that that child had infinite possibilities if only we would not block that child from becoming who the Creator intended that child to be. And isn't it ironic that the very people who had a hand in creating public education today have no access to it? The very notion of school choice in the United States is an insult, because whether you're from Detroit, how many people in here from Detroit? Raise your hand. All right, whether you're from Camden, New Jersey, raise your hand, Camden. Whether you're from Newark, New Jersey, raise your hand, Newark. New York in the house, raise your hand. Chicago, Paterson, New Jersey. All right. There is no such thing as school choice in black and brown communities, because we do not have the choice of a world-class school within walking distance of our homes. That choice has been snatched from us. And I want to ask you, brothers and sisters, who has demonstrated more loyalty to this country than black people? I want to talk to you about it. After going through what our ancestors called the Ma'afa, the great disaster, there was no African slave trade. There was no commerce between equals. Masses of black people did not sell masses of black people into slavery. The continent of Africa was pillaged. Great civilizations crumbled. Mothers who had never witnessed a murder in their life, watching their entire families exterminated. So the concept of murder was foreign to them, because in many traditional African societies, wars were fought through wrestling matches. And the first one to throw the other person to the ground won the wrestling match, because the culture was not a culture of death. But today, we live in a society that imprisons more people than any other nation in the history of this earth. More than apartheid-era South Africa, when the black men working in the diamond mines of South Africa, before they were allowed to come to the surface, they had to put the diamonds in first. And every day, on every shift, one black man died in the diamond mines of South Africa. We imprison more people than that regime. We live in a society that took zero tolerance and inflicted it, heaped it upon babies. And how many millions of lives have been ruined as a result? I mean, I want us all to think of how many millions upon millions of young people could have been anything if only they had somebody to listen to their pain, to understand why they come late to school because they're walking around gang territories, to understand that they have to take their little brother or sister to school because their mother is on drugs, their grandmother is raising them, and the 13-year-old is not a man of the house. But when we share our pain, I was watching Fox News this morning. Don't ask me why I was watching it. But to be honest with you, I could have been watching MSNBC. I could have been watching CNN. And the young people in Baton Rouge were in the street. And the whole thing was the reporter, Flannery, whatever his name is, Garrity, well, whatever his name is, he was arguing with the young people about, well, don't you believe in innocent until proven guilty? And to actually say that to a black person in the United States of America is, I'm going to go there. It is an act of absolute arrogance, but it's really psychopathic. It's really psychopathic. You know, the psychotic does not appear to be able to be functional. The psychotic is somebody that's in the middle of the street, butt naked, spinning around in circles, and they can't function without their medication, right? The psychopath can raise a family. The psychopath can hold a job. The psychopath can teach a class. The psychopath can drive a bus and appear completely normal. But there's a side of them that has no real sense of right or wrong and really doesn't care. And in race relations in this country, in the legacy of white supremacy, America is psychopathic. America is psychopathic. So I can't talk about education without talking about that. You know, people talk about the 34-day hunger strike, and it should really be a shame on this country. It should really be something that depressed. Yes, it was a fight, and we'll fight it again. I would do it with a second's notice. But the fact is, we shouldn't have to. The fact that we have to should make everybody in this room absolutely committed, not dedicated, committed to transforming this country. Because if the fight for a decent school has to go to those lengths, it wasn't a fight for a contract, it wasn't a fight to get to sit at the table, it was a fight to say, I want my baby to walk down the street to an excellent school because they are just as precious as anybody else's child. And to sit there and have to starve yourself for 34 days is a condemnation on every piece of rhetoric that we use to say that we've made progress in race relations. For students in Newark, New Jersey to have to put their bodies at risk and lie in the middle of the street, who knows what would happen to those babies lying in the middle of the street? But to feel so voiceless that they have to go to those lengths. For people in Chicago just yesterday for people all over the country to block expressways. What's to stop an 18-wheeler from saying to hell with it? For people to do that is an indictment on us. It's an indictment. And I'm at a place where and this is just me, I just feel like divorcing myself from this. That I'm not going to support a system that would do this to a people, that is that evil, that you will walk up on a traffic stop and gun a man down in front of his daughter. So that man will never be a grandfather. He'll never watch his daughter grow up. And then, so I'm of the belief that we have to talk differently about how we resist. We have to talk differently about how we resist. Because I'm not prepared to watch another school close in Chicago and have babies tugging on my leg 6 months after the school closed. Are they going to reopen my school? Are they going to reopen my school? Mourning their loss, internalizing that loss as if there was something wrong with them. This is not a game. This is not a game. And I'm just at a place where I want to talk with you all tonight in the few minutes I have left just about what we believe the root cause is. How many people ever had the flu? Raise your hand. You ever had the flu? If you had the flu, what were some of the symptoms? Aches, fever, chills, runny nose. So you can go to Walgreens and get things to treat all those symptoms, right? But treating those symptoms don't get rid of the virus, does it? So, you know, old school people tell you how to get rid of the virus. Sweat it out. You know, drink a lot of hot tea. Here's a hot toddy that makes the virus uncomfortable and leave your body. Hey, so if we're talking about what's wrong in public education, I want to talk about the virus. I don't want to talk about the symptom. There are people in this room that have been heroes around issues of testing, around the issues of restorative justice, around the issues of school closings, but none of those things are the virus. You know, the virus is white supremacy. The virus is white supremacy. To Cocoa people, Rod Wilson, are you here? Or if somebody can get, that was Miss Travis calling me, so if somebody can call her. Okay. So, white supremacy is a belief system that has infected our lives. All of you. There's nobody in this room that's immune to it, and I maintain that more of us practice it than we're willing to admit. Practicing it is not something that you have to do consciously. It's not something where you have to look and say, well, I hate black people, or I don't like black people. See, I said this yesterday. What we are not facing, what we are not confronting with any vigilance, with any sense of commitment, you know, there's a difference between dedication and commitment. Dedication is you care about something, you'll go, you'll turn out, you'll participate. Commitment, you make it part of your life's work. Commitment means you will inconvenience yourself. Commitment means that it becomes one of your core priorities to eradicate white supremacy from this earth. And with that type of spirit, we can work together in brotherhood and sisterhood. But what happens, even in our movement, is that black people have to change. We have to be in organizing trainings where people saying it's not really about race, or don't talk about race, right? And we have to exist in that type of madness. When I'm 50 years old and I have in my lived experience being tortured, being basically terrified by the police department. As an 11-year-old boy on the south side of Chicago, I've had a gun put to my head for popping firecrackers in my friend's backyard. And I'm 50, and I still think about it with fear. I've been pulled over, and being pulled over for a traffic stop, then there's 7 police cars surrounding you, and I have a youth in the car with me. And a police officer, big as me with tattoos, saying I'm a traffic Nazi. Don't move. And this is before Facebook and Twitter. It is a daily part of our lives to sabotage the education of a child. There is nothing in this world more evil than that. Because we know how to make good schools in this country. We know how to make good schools, but we choose not to make them for black and brown children. Either there's something wrong with the system, or there's something wrong with our kids. Let's put it on the table. Either, so you wouldn't have schools that are struggling in Oakland, Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, New Orleans, Baltimore, Birmingham, Alabama, all over this country, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Minnesota. When you go in the hood, our schools do worse than everyone else's. So either it's something wrong with them, our babies, or it's something wrong with this system. And I'm not crazy enough to sit up here and say it's something wrong with my children. I'm not that crazy. White supremacy operates as a virus that seeps and infects every quality of life institution we have access to. So somebody wants to get credit? Nah. Somebody wants to get a house? Nah. Somebody wants to find a decent job or join a trade union? Nah. Somebody wants to have a decent school? Nah. Somebody wants to have a hospital in their neighborhood? Nah. There's a trust that has been betrayed in this country because nobody has been more loyal to this than the people that are often the most shunned. We fought in every war. We fought in every war. We fought in every conflict. We've invested in this system. We've often been the moral center of this country. But we are the most demonized. Black bodies being shown on TV for the world to laugh at is as common as somebody coughing. We sit up and we watch Eric Garner strangled by a mob. Strangled by a mob, and we sit up and act as if we are normal. A grandfather who will never see his grandchildren again, who will never enjoy those things again, and we look at him like it's something wrong with us. There is nothing wrong with us. There is something wrong with this. Y'all have to forgive me. I can't even go off. Y'all have to forgive me. Because I can't look at people die and act like it's just an issue. I can't do it. I can't look at people die and act like it's just a footnote in a news story. My humanity won't let me do it. My humanity won't let me do it. So, I read a book, and I'm reading it again, called The Black Jacobins. Anybody familiar with that book? The Black Jacobins talks about the Haitian Revolution, when poor Africans beat three of the strongest armies in the world and created a free nation, and we wonder why Haiti is being starved to death today. When Boukman the priest and Toussaint L'Ouverture and Dessalines the Ferocious expelled the French and the Spanish and the British from Haiti. And one part of this book talks about how, in the book it says, the first chapter is talking about the slaves, and it's describing where they came from and the conditions. And I want y'all to check this out. This was written in 1787. He says, "What is the intelligence of these slaves? It is our firm belief that the Negro is lazy, shiftless, violent, jealous to a fault, etc., 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 etc." And that description is used, and in the book it says, this description of them is used to justify the inhumane treatment. See, what they used to do to Africans in the West Indies is they would put gunpowder in their bodies, light a match, and when they run, watch them blow up. They would tie them to the edge of horses and go, "Yah!" and watch their bodies pulled apart for the horses, so that so anybody thought of rebellion, remember what this looked like. They would take a pregnant woman and cut her stomach open, pull the baby out and stomp on the baby to send terror through the hearts of these people who came from free nations and didn't understand what they were experiencing. Remember, these people didn't even know what murder looked like. And that characterization of us was used to justify the treatment. So you tell me what's the difference today. You tell me that there was no justification, that Michael Brown was not demonized by corporate media. By corporate media. This 17-year-old chubby boy probably can't run 2 blocks without falling out. And they demonized him as the hulking, menacing black man that walked through bullets. You tell me I'm lying. I watched it, you watched it. Eric Garner was characterized as a criminal. Why didn't he just listen? So because he said, "Leave me alone," he deserves to get strangled to death? Tamir Rice playing with a cap gun, basically wet up as a 12-year-old. Y'all know what wet up means, right? For those that don't, that means shot, 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 shot. That belief system, my friends, is what is fueling everything that's happening today. Because to close 24 schools in Philadelphia, while you subsequently, at the same time, build 2 prisons right outside of Philadelphia, to shut down 49 schools in one fell swoop and then send children walking through hell to get to school. I have parents in this room right now who are friends of mine whose elementary school closed, which is called Overton, and to this day, those children have to walk, and you all stop me if I start lying. You have to walk through Heroin Park, you have to walk past Prostitution Row on 49th, 48th, 47th Prairie in Indiana just to get to school. It's okay, because who we talking about after all? Them lazy, shiftless, violent N-words. And until my white brothers and sisters in this room confront that reality and make a decision within the badass teachers, within Save Our Schools, within the United Opt-Out movement, until you make a decision to stand with us in this fight, then it ain't real. It ain't real. So I'm gonna borrow Reverend Barbara. As I move towards a close, what's the solution to this? I would say that within our organizations, we have to deal with racism from a place of humility. What do I mean by that? When I needed to learn how to be a community organizer, I was great at doing programs. I was great at being the one that can kick down the door and say, we want justice. But how to strategize and how to organize, I learned that from somebody in this room. Jay Travis, raise your hand, please. And I know she's mad at me. I love you, sister, and I'm sorry. Okay? I know you're gonna get me later, but I apologize. But that sister, who looked like, she should be, on the cover of Ebony Woman or something, is a master community organizer. And I learned from her. Even when she didn't think I was listening, I was watching. And I became an organizer by shutting up and watching. And I think that brothers and sisters in this movement can learn from groups like Journey for Justice how to confront and what racism looks and feels like. It's not intellectual. It's not. I mean, I can't even begin to really deal with what is happening in this country right now. It leaves you feeling angry, at one point hopeless, and then at another point fiercely determined. And I think that's where I'm at. Because I know that all human beings are beautiful. I know that black people are beautiful. I know that black people are vibrant. I know that we were not in Africa swinging on trees talking about no unga bunga. What I know is that we were in Africa creating civilizations. We introduced language to this world. We were the first people to practice chemistry. We went to Spain and brought civilization to Spain. We were walking around in Spain in silk robes and lighted streets. But yet you listen to what this system says about us, and we've contributed nothing. We are on the campus, not too far, well, sort of far, but in the same spirit where George Washington Carver was in a lab and they wouldn't give him beaker bottles, so he used pop bottles. And anything he could to revolutionize agriculture in this country. We're sitting in the same campus where Thurgood Marshall got the inspiration and understood that when he had to go do Brown v. Board, he had to go talk to the people to understand what the real conditions were. So he would go talk to a little girl and say, baby, is your school made out of wood or is it made out of brick? Is your bathroom on the inside or is it on the outside? But what we do is we tell people how they should feel. We tell people, well, it's not really about race because we don't like it personally, but it ain't personal. Nobody's saying that you, and I'm talking to my white brothers and sisters, nobody's saying that you are an architect of white supremacy, but you must stop talking, listen to what people are going through, and understand that there's a population in this country for which the future is not even bright. I won't even say guaranteed. You all heard Ashawn yesterday. That was no joke. That's a little brother telling you that despite how beautiful that little brother is, the light that's in his eyes, he fears for his tomorrow because this country doesn't love him. So are you willing to sit on the sidelines and watch that happen while we work on our issues? And we work on our issues and we make ourselves feel like we're revolutionary because we're working on our issues? I have had to officiate a funeral. I'm not a minister. That was one of the worst days of my life, where I watched a young man who I helped raise murdered. And I'm saying to myself, why is he not here anymore? It's not a game, it's not a joke. So we believe that the solution to this is let's work together on that. Let's, champion that like we champion all of our issues. When we're talking about education justice in this country, you cannot get away from the racial inequities that exist. It is not a footnote. It's not something on the side. It is not, you can't. Jeanette Taylor, raise your hand. That sister has served on the local school council at her school for 20 years as a volunteer. No, stop clapping, stop clapping. Because I'm not saying it to you to blow her up. I'm saying it to you to say she ain't got no voice in what happens in the education of her children. You leave it to this system, she doesn't have a voice. April Stogner, raise your hand. That woman, as young as she look, is a grandmother who raised her children through the system. She's voiceless. Anna Jones, where you at? Well, she was here. But anyway, the point I'm just making, brothers and sisters, that we believe that the solution is we have to demand education justice in this country, and we have to learn how to tap into our base. We have to learn how to tap into our base. We're not going to win this through advocacy. We're not going to win this through speaking at board meetings. We're going to win this through people power, overpowering money power. And you have to ask yourself, do you have the capacity to move your people? And if you don't, that's okay. But then you have to become a student and figure out how to learn how to do that. And one of the things we do, and I'm going to tell you as activists, one of the things that we do is we say, how many of you are guilty of this? Let's be honest. And I don't want none of y'all waiting for me outside either. All right? I can still fight. Only about 5 minutes, but I can still go. All right. So how many of you all have said, I wish the teachers or I wish the parents would get off their butt and get to these meetings and get active? Raise your hand if you ever said that. Tell the truth, because I've said it, all right? Now, do this, do this, do this, do this. Bad me. Because, I'll give you an example. I want y'all to hear me. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Back in the day, Jay Travis, raise your hand one more time, sister. All right, Jaribu Lee, raise your hand too. We were working with a day camp back in the day. We used to work at a place called, we used to do a lot of programs. We used to do something called the Ujima Leadership Day Camp. We still do it. And this day camp, we would have at different sites in the neighborhood. Now, one year we had it at Northeastern Illinois for inner city studies. And at Northeastern, it was right across the street from the former Ida B. Wells housing projects. Now, what was interesting, now at this center, they would always have these meetings and these expos and these forums about, reinvigorating the black revolutionary spirit and, the black struggle as we see it and all this other stuff. Being conscious and walking with Ma'at and all this other stuff. And when you would go to the meetings, it would always be the same people wearing the same dashikis. The dashikis got a little more wrinkled year after year. And it will always be something like, the people need to wake up. The brothers and sisters said, we got to wake the people up. And we're like, well, how do you get the people? Well, first you got to learn, brother, and all this other stuff. But the issue was, in regards to the day-to-day lives of their people, they were irrelevant because they never took the time to go sit, talk to Ms. Jones, shut up and listen to what Ms. Jones cared about, what was important to Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones might not care nothing about being a revolutionary. Ms. Jones might just want to be able to walk her babies to and from school safely. So that meant that the revolutionary might have to shut up and be part of a parent patrol and work with that parent so that that parent would feel like, I can depend on you. Watch this. Jeanette, where I meet you at? Why are you talking quiet? You ain't never quiet before. Where I meet you at? So when I met Jeanette Taylor, I wasn't talking about, sister, we got to fight the system, and we got to go and bum rush Mayor Daley and Rahm Emanuel. The sister wanted to be trained as a local school council member. So I made myself a local school council trainer and started providing that service to people in the neighborhood and slowly winning their trust. Winning their trust. When they came for her school, I wasn't like, sister, you need to do this and this and this and this. And sister, maybe you should take their deal. Maybe what they offering you is good. When they tried to close her school, our work was to support them in their fight. And so when they realized that we were there, and you rescue me if I'm wrong, they turned out over 300 parents that were fighting mad to save their school, right? So through that process, she began to realize that I could be trusted. And so then I could start asking her for stuff. A little bit here, a little bit there. And her involvement grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And now, who is the parent organizer for the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization? She is. So the point, brothers and sisters, is, and I'm not saying that to be boastful, because we in the fight and we winning some and we losing some, but we have to become people movers. And the first priority of being a people mover is having humility and listening. That's the first priority. You know, we think because we have $5 and somebody else has $2 that somehow we got something to teach them. And I'm gonna close with this because I know I'm all out of order. So I'm gonna close with this. You know, we all have our stories. You know, we all have people that have impacted our lives. And I bring this sister up often, I'm gonna bring up again. The woman who taught me the most about what love looked like, I'm talking about in the neighborhood, was a woman named Linda Brown. Linda Brown was a parent leader at Fuller Elementary School. It was one of the first people that would put on a Coco shirt and say, I'm a parent leader with Coco. And Linda Brown, when I would go on field trips with students at Fuller School, take them on college trips and stuff like that, I would call her sometimes at the last minute. Y'all know how we do, right? And I said, Miss Brown, well, I'm going to Champaign-Urbana. Can you ride with me? And she'd say, anything for the kids, Brother Jitu. That's what she would always say. Linda Brown had a heart attack on the first floor of Fuller Elementary School. And I talked to her maybe 2 days afterwards, and she sounded real weak. It's like, I'm all right, Brother Jitu, I'm all right. I just got to slow down. She was at Fuller the next day. She was at Fuller the next day, 3 days after a heart attack. The point I'm making to you, she died in 2003, but her life worked. She was the mother of the neighborhood. Linda Brown wanted to get parents in the room. Those parents came. You know why? Because they trusted Linda Brown, because she earned their trust, because she listened to them. She would go minister to students in the neighborhood. I remember a little girl got pregnant. I saw Linda Brown walking down 43rd in Berkeley. I said, where you going, Miss Brown? I'm going to minister to this girl got knocked up. That's how she would say it. But that's who she was. So when she died, her funeral was packed. So the lesson from Linda Brown is that love and greatness comes in all shapes and sizes. All shapes and sizes. It ain't about the titles that this system has given us. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with your spirit. So with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say thank you for this time. I hope this has been of some benefit. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.